When the army officer came to visit you in the veterans ward and handed you her card, you scoffed. You'd never even heard of the Department of Special Relativity, much less their experimental tactical unit. When the first reports of the LAX bioweapons effects started to come in and it became clear what was at stake, she came back to see you. This time, you weren't so quick to dismiss her. Within a week, they had you hooked up to the temporal projection unit and you were running limited tests. Microsecond jumps at first, then minutes. You were up to 4-hour jumps in controlled conditions with only minimal deviations when you heard Sam had been infected. The doctors had said it'd be a matter of days. You pleaded with your superiors to make the jump. The target, the terrorist cell delivering the canisters. Against their better judgment, they hooked you up to the unit and entered the space-time coordinates. It was going to be the longest jump anyone had made, 36 days in uncontrolled conditions. You prayed it would go well. It didn't. You have no idea what happened, but you first touched down somewhere that looked like the Sahara Desert. Your relativistic chronometer said it was the 1st of January, 1731. That's when you activated the emergency signal. After 3 minutes and 45 seconds, the world started flickering and you jumped again. This time you ended up outside Minsk in 1944. You were stranded there for over a week. You're starting to lose hope of ever getting back, of completing your mission, of seeing Sam ever again. With each soul-wrenching jump, you feel a glimmer of hope right before you touch down. Maybe this one will bring you back? At the same time, you feel your sense of self slipping away bit by bit. For each jump, you feel your memories become more and more distant, your identity become more tenuous, your existence become increasingly unmoored. Unmoored is a game about the human capacity for hope and finding a sense of purpose in a hopeless situation. It is about isolation, memory, and the gradual loss of identity. You are trapped in time and space, with no control over your environment or what happens to you. Your only recourse is to keep existing and hope for the impossible. This is Unmoored, a game by Laurie Asmuth, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which I doubt very much. And it is a block tower game. This is a block tower that I got at Winners for $10, and the entire reason that I decided to do a block tower game for this stream is because I got a block tower for $10 at Winners. And I'm really excited to play this. This was, of course, voted on by patrons. There were 3 options for the game, and this is the one that won, and I'm really excited. This is my Halloween vibe. This is just stuff I already owned. My more high-effort costume was Ellen Ripley, which there was a game, the original Wretched and Alone game, which this is a hack of, is very Aliens-inspired, so I probably would have worn that, but I'm excited to get to wear continue wearing the vague cyberpunk thing that I wore to the event that I went to this evening. So let's just get started, because it's late. To play, need standard deck of cards with no jokers. We have that. Took the jokers out. Gonna give her a shuffle. Thank you very much to Jess Levine of Jumpgate Games for allowing me to play her album archive during the stream. I didn't want to dive into sort of the royalty-free mines just yet, and just thought that this would be a great vibe, mostly for what I've got going on. We'll see how fitting it is with, with the game, but it certainly matches my whole thing. Let's give, I feel one more. Great. Star Wars Rebels pack that I've absolutely mentioned in the first episode of Folio. This is Folio, by the way. A podcast about solo and epistolary games. This is Folio, a live stream about solo and epistolary games. Usually on the podcast I've got guests playing at the same time as me for the stream. Tonight, at least, just me. The truly solo experience. So we have our block tower set up, got this shuffled. We're going to be placing cards to answer prompts for logs. You can see some of the logs on the screen here. I'm just gonna take some notes. Do need to come up with a name real quick, which is one of the things I'm worst at in the world. Let's I love lamp this and just name our specialist after the first thing I saw when I looked, which was card. So, read a little bit more of the rules text here. Set up the tumbling block tower as you normally would. Roll your die, complete that many pulls from the tower, placing the pulled blocks on top of the tower. The tower represents your identity and sense of self. If the tower falls at any point in the game, you have given up and become so lost that there is no longer any way back for you. This ends the game and you should proceed to the debriefing. Shuffle the deck of cards, place them within easy reach, and record your first log entry. Wonderful. I assume this is going to be a D6. Let me just double check. Yes. Oh, and we're going to need tokens. Yes, yes, yes. Let me look and see what I've got. Okay, I have this glass jar of beads, buttons, something. Oh, I revealed my face. Oh no. Sitting alone in my dark bedroom, wearing sunglasses with 2 webcams pointed at me is very funny. So, those will be my tokens. The only way to survive this ordeal is to hope that engineers back home manage to lock onto your signal to repair whatever happened to the temporal displacement unit and bring it back. It is very unlikely that this will happen. That is especially unlikely for me. I don't have very steady hands, and I don't have strategy for this thing, so almost certainly, very quickly, I suspect it will fall over, and there goes my identity. So, our very first log entry is scripted. So, this is jump 3, our very first log. This is specialist card on my 3rd uncontrolled temporal projection jump. Something went wrong during the transfer, and I have deviated massively from the target coordinates. The malfunction also affected my temporal stability, and I seem to be experiencing uncontrolled jumps at irregular intervals. I must attempt to contact the projection engineers and have them bring me back home. In the meantime, there's nothing I can do but keep calm and keep safe. This is Specialist Card, signing off. So I think, right, we do have to start off with have to start by doing the pulls, and then other than that, I think you only do it when a card explicitly tells you to. A 2, great. Is it better to start from the bottom or the top? Ooh, well that one seems like it's gonna be easy, so we'll do that one. And we'll do another one that seems like it's gonna be easy. Yay! Nothing bad will ever happen to me. And then, each jump consists of 2 phases, the events and the log. So let's do phase 1 for our first jump. Roll your die, draw that many cards from the deck, face down, turn over the first card, consult the field manual, do what it says, keep doing that, and then discard the cards unless otherwise instructed, and then take a moment to reflect on the events about this jump. How many cards are we going to get for our first one? 5. Big, okay. Have a little reminder here. The suits are different categories of questions. Like hearts represent questions or prompts about home, diamonds are about identity, clubs are about the mission, and spades are about the jumps. So let's see what our first card is. 8 of hearts. Hearts, home. Hearts represent what you are trying to get back to and your connection to them. Home, Sam, the team. 8 is, if you ever manage to get back and see Sam again, what do you want to say? Oh man. So Sam obviously is my partner, and they're sick. I mean, being the partner of somebody who signs up for an experimental time traveling job, it feels like that might be a relationship where you would have apologies to make. About your priorities and about not seeing things clearly. And so I think it's just the very simple things of I love you, and maybe to get very melodramatic immediately, maybe to say like, you are enough for me. I chase excitement, but it's not because of something that you lack. It is something that I need in my life, but that isn't a failure on your part. It is just part of me, and it might be something, a need that you can't necessarily meet, but that isn't something that I consider a lack in you or our relationship. And I feel like I haven't been like explicit enough about that, and maybe let them think they weren't exciting enough for me, or even maybe thought it myself, of like in sort of grumpy and resentful moments, like I have to chase this all by myself because I don't get it here. So I think it's just, hey, it isn't about that. This is about me. It really is. And I get everything that I need from you. Just noting that as I love you and you are enough. Let's see what our second card is. The 7 of Home, which is hearts. So 7. This jump has taken you out in the wilderness and you're struggling to forage for food while waiting for the next jump. What food do you fantasize about from back home? Ooh. At the event tonight, somebody was dressed as Shawarma King, which I have no idea how big of a chain that is. Apparently Ottawa's like crazy big for shawarma, which I didn't know. It isn't something that I like have a lot of access to as a vegan. But it immediately puts Gus shawarma on the brain. And I think that fits about as something like a comfort food. Ooh, yeah, so I think it's like it's essentially the equivalent of like a gas station hot dog. There's like the place that I live with Sam in the city. There's a corner store close to us that has like a tiny food counter, and they do just these. There's a fryer. They have a single fryer basket, you know? And it's like a, I'll just go with the thing that I have access to as a vegan, which is falafel. They've got like a falafel wrap that, this is a 24-hour convenience store, and the amount of like falafel wraps that I've gotten with Sam at like all hours of the day. This is like the cashiers at this place have seen me in every single state that a human being can be in. Emotionally and physically. And so I'm just thinking about the falafel wraps at this convenience store near our house. And I think specifically there's something about like they are really good, but in a way that's like difficult to quantify almost. Like this shouldn't be good, and maybe actually it sometimes isn't, but something about it is just always exactly what you need, and it's perfect. So that is what I'm fantasizing about as I'm foraging in the woods. Oh, I should say, these jumps, you can sort of, part of the game is deciding like kind of where you're jumping. I have a terrible memory for like dates and historical events, so I'm not going to be exploring the parts of this game that are like more tied to that by saying I'm, you know, in Minsk at 19. Why can't I say that? In 1944, like it says in the intro. And I think, in fact, I'm probably putting my game far enough in the future that there are a couple hundred years that we haven't experienced yet that I could hop back to. I'm not sure explicitly where I am now. I think that visually, and especially here where I'm like in the wilderness, I'm at a point of humanity where like maybe people were in bunkers for a while or something, and there are still people. I know there are people because there are people later. This is like 75 years before I was born kind of thing, but there just aren't a lot of people around, and so I'm in a very sort of like barren, isolated time of humanity in the world. And I'm thinking about my corner store falafel wraps. Specifically, 24-hour corner store falafel wraps. Next card is the 10 of Diamonds, which is identity. Oops. Okay, print. Your jump takes you out to the seaside, and some miles in the distance, you can make out the landmarks of a town you used to vacation in, but too far away to reach now. So I just want to double check. Okay, so each This is one jump, but also it explicitly says, like, a note or two on jumps. Not many events spell out exactly where or when they take you. In those cases, you are free to make up the location and describe it in your log. If you think that the events of two cards that come up don't fit in the same jump, it means another jump has occurred and taken you to a new location. In this case, I think that it makes total sense. The seaside could be near, like, the wilderness that I've been foraging in. The idea, the image of, like, having landed on this beach and having to, like, venture in to the wilderness, essentially, to start foraging, is great. So, there isn't a specific question here. Just sort of a thing to think on. So, a town I used to vacation in, too far away to reach now, 75 years before I was born is what I said. So, because, like I said, it's this very desolate time of humanity, probably post some sort of nuclear apocalypse. That's usually what happens. Or some sort of other, like, big war or catastrophe. I like the idea that I'm looking over at this very familiar landscape, and it looks decrepit and falling apart to the extent that I think when I first land, I think that I've gone forward in time, like, after this city has fallen apart, and then realize through some sort of other clues that no, this is in the past, this is what it was like directly after this war or climate catastrophe or whatever it was, and in the future it is going to be very lovingly built back up again until it is the town that I recognize. And not only is it far away, as the prompt says, like, too far away to reach now, I think it's also just, like, the infrastructure isn't there right now. Like, I could take the time theoretically to walk there. I'm across the water, and there is, in my time, there's, like, a long bridge. And it's not like it would be an easy walk even if the bridge were there, but at this point, that bridge doesn't exist or has been destroyed. And so I'm just looking at this, like, unsettlingly familiar and yet full of holes, and just looking like a place I know after something bad has happened. And it is, but it's before it was the place that I knew. And I'm just gonna take a couple of notes. And next card is the 5 of Clubs, which is about the mission. Five. You've been thinking about this a lot lately. How do you know the coordinates for your mission are even accurate? Even if they are, how do you know that was the only terrorist cell with the bioweapon? Why did you panic and rush into the jump? Maybe it would have worked if you just had more time to prepare. Pull from the tower. And I think for this, yeah, this is just something that I'm ruminating on. I don't think that there's anything more that I need to, like, consider for that necessarily. Maybe in part it's like I'm looking at the destruction of this world before I was in it and being like, fuck. There are actually so many ways to wreak havoc and cause harm. Why on earth would we assume that we know the most important target or anything like that? There are so many things that it could be, and that's what it's part of why I'm like ruminating on it. And we've got the 6 of diamonds. Diamonds are identity. Even though the jumps are starting to erode your sense of identity, you've managed to find a strong center, a part of yourself that you can count on. Now you just have to hope there's enough there to work as a constant for the projection unit to lock onto. Huh. So, specialist card. What is an integral part of your identity? There was the sense of adventure we sort of talked about earlier. I don't even know, as a person, how I would categorize this. So that makes it very difficult. Like, what is my strong center of identity as a real life human being? Ugh. This seems so small, but I kind of like that it's small. It's like it's a habit, like a nervous, not even nervous habit, just like something that I'm doing all the time, which is like humming. Whenever I'm deeply engrossed in a task, or essentially whenever I'm not explicitly controlling it, I am humming a stupid little song, sometimes like even kind of tuneless, just and I think the one of the easiest things to tie it to would just be that, like, tie it to Sam. This is something that they noticed about me probably very early on, like something that they found very endearing about me, and that I didn't even really know that I did until they pointed it out. And at first I was like embarrassed, and then they were like, it's adorable. Like it's really good. And I'm, you know, by the sea, foraging. Haven't seen another human being in a long time. And maybe see like a bird. Like there's a bird that like repeats something I'm humming back to me, some sort of like weird little mockingbird type creature. And I realize, oh right, yeah, I'm humming because I'm always humming. And then just for some reason like grasp onto that as like, yeah, that's something about me. I hum. I like to pleasantly fill the air and feel that joy and that kind of thing. And it's so small, but like, why not? Why not have that be the thing? And then I'm just gonna note, I hum, smiley face. And that is the events. Gonna swoop all these cards right on out of here. And then we enter phase 2, which is the log. Take a moment to reflect on the events on this jump. Keeping in mind your state of being, your whereabouts in time and space, your thoughts and memories, record your log for this jump as instructed on the previous page, which basically just says log entries should begin by introducing yourself, saying which jump it is, and then talk about what happened. Hoping that someone out there is listening. And so, what am I going to say here? What is my log? This is a specialist card on my 4th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. There is a distinct surreality to returning to a worse world. In some moments it's been serving as a reminder what we're fighting against, the thing we are trying to stop from occurring that has happened before. Maybe it depends on the day, maybe it's just how much sleep I managed to get. Sometimes that's invigorating, knowing that the thing, the worst possible thing, has already happened and we've already overcome it. We could do it again. And I find hope in it. Other times, it brings a lot of despair. Because everything feels so cyclical. It's hard to know how in control we really are. And if something like this has happened, maybe we can't stop it from happening again. I try to push myself towards recognizing the potential. Seeing these crumbling buildings and knowing that by the time I saw them for the first time, they were thriving again. People were living in them. Living whole lives. Above ground in a way that would be unfathomable to the people living where I am now. I try to hold on to the hope that even if we fail, we rebuild. and that it's worth trying. Because we've already built something that is worth trying for. And I am trying. This is Specialist Card, signing off. Something like that. So let's hop into phase 1 of jump number 5. So first, roll this d6 and then we'll see how many cards. 3. The first card is a 3 of hearts, which is home. You remember a lazy summer day spent with Sam. What detail do you miss the most? So I've just jumped. I don't want to fully define where yet, just because there might be more in these cards that fills in it a little bit more. But a lazy summer day, what do I miss? Freaking falafel wraps, man. So the category of home is more like all-encompassing than this, but I'm jumping off of it to say, like, this is literally at home where we lived. And we both called in sick to work on the same day. Because we were like, it's too beautiful. We simply cannot go into work. And I think we're very conspiratorial about it in some ways, like hiding under blankets or something like that, to be like, we both called in sick, don't go near the windows, we can't let anybody know, what if they come and they see, just like completely unnecessarily pretending that we have to like hide. And we ended up like dramatically, playfully climbing into like a crawl space in our apartment, and then we get distracted just like talking and laying there, and we spend a weird amount of time sitting in this crawl space. And so the detail that I'm thinking of is like a specific type physical closeness. We're in this crawl space where we're relatively comfortable, but it is small, and we do have to align ourselves very specifically in order to fit. And we both end up realizing that both of us are really uncomfortable because we were sitting in a way where we were like, well, if this is comfortable for the other person, I will sit this way, even though I'm uncomfortable. And we'd both been doing that for like 45 minutes and realize somehow and like laugh about it and adjust so we're both actually comfortable. And yeah, it's just like their hand behind my head, cushioning me from the wall and like gently scratching my hair just a little bit. Enjoying the excuse of the confined space to be very, very close. Unreasonably close. Yeah. That's it. Just the smushed in the crawl space together is the note I'll take. Your next card, King of Diamonds, which is identity. King of Identity. I believe that almost all of the identity cards and face cards generally have pulls. So, King of Identity. That's me talking about parts work with my therapist recently. Yeah, I'm the king of identity. I know myself so well. I've been very stably. Okay, you've been stuck on this jump for ages, isolated far away from people in a hostile land. You started talking to yourself and you wake up screaming every night. Now more than ever, you fear you won't be anything but a specter of who you were after this jump. Do not discard this card. Place it at the side where you can see it. If this is the fourth king you have drawn, lay down in the dirt and finally give up. The game is over. Okay, so I don't pull from the tower, but I do keep this card. I'm gonna put it right here. Far away from people in a hostile land. The first thing I think of is just being in like the middle of a desert, but like an ice desert, somewhere extremely cold. And I just don't have a way to traverse the land to get anywhere more friendly. And I've just been stuck here. Probably one of the reasons I was ruminating on the summer is because I was like, ooh, remember when I was warm? But yeah, just even on the last jump, I was pretty isolated, but at least there I saw evidence of people by having, like, seeing the destroyed remnants of the city. At least I knew, like, someone was here, someone built this. And where I am now, there's just no evidence of humanity. It's just ice and wind and misery. And it's hostile, yeah, and it's getting to me. Our next card is the Nine of Spades, and spades are jumps. So, someone you meet on this jump mentions in passing having met you before, but it shouldn't be humanly possible. Have you been here before and forgotten about it? Are there copies of you making their own jumps? Pull from the tower. Let me decide who this is first. I've been here for days. No evidence of humanity. And I almost think I'm like hallucinating or something when I see a helicopter appear on the horizon. But nope, it's real. There's a helicopter. They weren't here for me or anything. They're surveying, like, they're gathering weather and climate data or something like that. It's just a surveying helicopter. But I managed to catch their attention and they come down to pick me up and throw open the door yell over the sound of the blades in the wind, like, "Oh, you're back out here, huh?" And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, you're how did you even get back out here?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And like they pull me back in. They pull me into the helicopter and I'm getting strapped in and whatever. And the person who's buckling me in is like, "God, you look like shit. Why did you come out here again?" And I'm like, I just arrived. I mean, I've been here for a little while, but like, and just, they assume that I have some sort of hypothermic memory loss or whatever, but I can't get a clear answer out of them. But it seems the implication being like, they've picked me up here before. And I think there's probably some line of like, they exchange looks, like a couple people in the helicopter exchange looks with each other. And they're like, "Well, you were more grateful last time. This is a new attitude. What's up?" And that sort of snaps me out a little bit to where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, I am. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know what I would have done. I was on my last legs. I don't know how much longer I would have made it, so thank you." And go kind of quiet, and they bring me back to their city or whatever. And I just stare out the window as we're flying, being like, who did they meet? What does this mean? And I will pull from the tower. Great. And then scoop these cards out of the way and do our log. This is specialist card on my 5th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I've been in the vacuum of space, and I don't know that I've ever been as this cold. It's like it's gotten inside of me, and I can't get rid of it. I've been inside for 48 hours, and I'm still shivering. Near the fire, no matter how many layers I put on, no matter what I do, I'm just cold. It's like something went missing inside of me, became unstuck, and it caused a vacuum. It pulled in the cold air and then just kept it. And the absence around it can't warm it up. And so it just leaches all of the heat out of me, and it's permanent. But when I touch my skin and I put one of my hands to my other hand, my skin is warm. When I breathe out into my palms, it's humid and it's hot. So it can't be real. It can't be permanent. And at some point, I won't feel it. I spent a lot of time near an ice floe. And it's only by luck that I've been pulled back to humanity, to civilization. It feels like a small step when the humanity and the civilization that I really want to be pulled back to is still so far away. But I have to believe, just as I have to believe, that one day soon I'll stop shivering. That I'll feel the warmth that must be real. That I will be pulled back. Just like I was here. This is Specialist Card, signing off. Let's do jump number 6. 3 cards. First card is the 4 of spades. Spades are jumps. 4. This is a great question. In what part of your body do you first start to feel it when you're about to make a jump? What a great question. I feel like the imagery that is most obvious that comes first is like feeling it behind the navel, like being yanked from the gut, right? But I think I feel it like there's a slowness. You know, time is about to get weird. And one of the ways that I recognize it is my heart slows. To an extent that is like genuinely a little scary. It was scarier before. It used to terrify me. And now it's just like a vague discomfort, a bodily discomfort that something is incorrect. I feel it in my chest. My heart slows. It's a little harder to breathe. It takes a little more effort to drag air into my lungs. And then an automated system or automated training of some kind kicks in. The things that I feel are like my muscles relaxing. Because it's very dangerous to fight the jump. And so there is like an automated hormone release or chemical release of some kind that like relaxes the muscles. And that feels very long in the moment, but looking back, it's always very, very fast, actually. Like, it's a couple of seconds at most, where it's like, I think the heart slowing down takes a little longer, and then by the time I notice it, I get the, like, hitch of realizing it's harder to breathe, and all of my muscles relax, and then I've jumped. And whenever I think about it, I'm like, oh, that barely happened. But in the moment, I know. In the moment, it takes a long time. My awareness is very heightened. So, slower heart rate, harder to breathe, muscles relax. And pull from the tower. Ooh. Oh boy. Got a real janky looking piece down there. That doesn't bode well. Let's just take this one. And flip a card. 3 of diamonds, which is identity. Got another pull. The 3 You wake up from a dream where you were with Sam, but after the memory of the dream fades, it hits you that as hard as you try, you can't remember their face. Pull from the tower. Oof. Yeah. I have a terrible memory, so parts of this game are very wonderfully affecting. Okay. I'm just gonna go right to the next card because I don't think there's a lot that I need to add to that, and I got a 2 of spades, which is jumps. This jump takes you to a desolate wilderness. How do you find food and shelter here? Pull from the tower. Ugh. Okay. So I think where this actually is somewhere I've been before, which is that place by the seaside. But this actually is before anything was built here. And it's like, ooh, it's before it was even a sea, actually. It's a fucking huge crater in the ground. An asteroid happened here or something. But there's just nothing here yet. There's no water, so there's no reason for like there to be life here. And the forest or whatever that I was foraging in that was by the sea isn't there. This is so long ago that there is no water, there was nothing to encourage life here. And it's just miserable. The food, I think, like, there's scrubby grass and like shitty plant life that I survive off of. Probably insects are a lot of it. Like there's no water or anything, so why would there be big animals and that kind of thing? It's like insects and terrible tough plant life. Shelter, I think I want to avoid it, but I realize I have to climb into the crater that's going to become the sea, because everywhere around is just too open and like hot, just the elements completely unprotected. And so I have to go in, and it's steep, but it's scary, but there are like enough holes in the ground from like shrapnel and that kind of thing that I can sort of duck into and be a little less exposed. That, I don't keep any of these, right? Nope, all of these get discarded. And I'm gonna do my log. So this is a specialist card on my 6th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I was worried, you know, that things were looping. And I can't say that this is exactly assuaged that fear. It feels like too big of a coincidence. An entire universe, all of human history, all of history, not thinking too small, human history, all of history to go back to, and I'm here again. A place that I knew as a child. When I was experiencing time in the correct order, I came here. And now I've come here again, twice. And I can't say that it bodes well. Maybe I don't have to be so scared. We can be so many versions of ourselves over the course of our lives, right? And so, if I try to think of someone and realize after hours that I'm thinking of someone else, that I'm remembering my training, but the instructor is actually that man who pulled me into that helicopter, that's fine. Because maybe my instructor has been that man in the helicopter. Maybe metaphorically, or spiritually, or literally. I think the metaphorical and the literal are... I mean, I'm a fucking time traveler. They have to be closer than... This is Specialist Card signing off. Let's get ready for jump number 7. Did I do the pull? Ooh. Let's see. How many... Oh, I don't think I did. I don't think I did, and it feels fair in this game to assume that I didn't. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. How many cards for this jump? 2. First one is the 8 of Spades, which is jumps. 8 of jumps. There was a rumor you heard back at the base about another test subject who suffered a catastrophic malfunction and was never recovered. They only talked of him in hushed tones, but you managed to dig up a photograph of him in the archives. You swear you've seen him on one of your jumps, staring right at you. Where was it? Pull from the tower. Yay! Yay, that's so good. So... it's a jump where I realize I have to be very careful because I am crossing my own time stream. I arrive in a city. It's like, not the city that I lived in when I was a teenager, but like the nearest big city. The place where you would go if you were like, ooh, I'm going into the city this weekend. And... it's a relief at first. Like, oh god, it's been a long time since I was in something I recognize as society. And I, like, hack an ATM, future ATM, and buy food, like real food that was, like, prepared by somebody. And oh my god, I think for the first time, I think about that cold that's been inside of me and it's gone. It's probably been gone for a while, but this is when I notice it's gone. And I'm on a walk, enjoying my little... I got like a dessert hot dog. Like, I had a full meal, and then when I came out of the restaurant, there was a street cart. And I was like, ooh, hot dog. And got a hot dog, and I'm walking, enjoying my hot dog. And at a stoplight, I look around, and there's a lamppost beside me, and I look at it and straighten up and look harder. And classic time traveler thing, have to like confirm the date with somebody. And they see that I'm looking at this poster and they're like, oh yeah, no, that's today. I also thought that it was next week. I don't think I can go. And I'm like, uh-huh. And it is like a concert poster for a show that I went to when I was a teenager. A like life-changing show for me where I don't know, it was just a big day. I took myself out of school and like without my parents' permission and found my way to the city and went, and it was like my favorite artist, and it was this big life-changing, life-affirming event for me. And I was standing there and realized, like, look down at the hot dog and be like, oh shit, I'm about to walk by myself. And I like throw myself into an alley, scaring the shit out of the person who had just been like in a very friendly way rambling about how time's so hard to keep track of things, isn't it? Maybe I can make it to the concert. I don't know. Do you ever have trouble like prioritizing? Very overly friendly stranger who I love. It's my favorite character. And yeah, teenage me, as soon as I throw myself into the alley, like walks up, also, eating a hot dog from that cart, and looks at the concert poster and like smiles really big. And that friendly stranger is like, oh, are you going? And teenage me is like, yes. And they like exchange excited conversation about it, and teen me crosses the street, and I'm just sitting in garbage in this alley like, okay, that would have been really, really bad, because there's obviously some sort of time travel consequence for running into your younger self. And I spend the next couple hours just trying to leave. Like, I just immediately start walking away, like in the opposite direction. Like, okay, I know that, I was a kid, I was on foot, I was scared of buses and transit. So I know that there is a very small perimeter that I could actually go into, and so I just have to leave that perimeter. I can hop in a cab and be far away, and I do that. And yeah, I'm in this cab, and I see this mysterious figure. I like the idea that he's also in a cab. We traffic stop right next to each other, and both of the cabbies blare horns at each other, and we look through, both passengers look, and he pulls his sunglasses down and stares really hard at me, and I flinch back a little, and then I think I see him in the distance a couple times. And I think I see him looking at me, but the last time I see him is actually I can't quite stop myself from going to the venue. And I know that I'm going to be in there the whole time. Teenage me is. And so it doesn't feel quite as dangerous, It's well, there's no way I'm going to run into them outside because they were in there. I just want to overhear some of the show. I do. I want to hear it again. And I'm listening. And I see that man. The thing I'm imagining is being outside the venue, and I'm like staring in fondly, and I can see Coat Check from where I am, and I see him rifling through teenage me's coat, and I don't know that he can find anything, and the attendant comes back and is like, "Hey, get the fuck out of here," and he leaves, and he doesn't see me. But I'm very aware that for some reason he was investigating teen me. Whether that happened actually that night, the first night it happened or not, I'm not sure. But yeah. Yeah, I see him around a couple times. So what am I gonna note? And our next card, 7 of Identity. Ooh, I didn't pull. I should start pulling. I always want to pull after the prompts just to see, like, I don't know, it just feels right. But I should start pulling at the beginning to know that I've done it. So 7 of Identity is, you met someone on this jump and shared a moment. When they asked you for your name, it took you a minute to remember it. How did that make you feel? Pull from the tower. Relatable, man. Ugh, brains. So I think, first of all, this is outside the show. You know, it's like an adult comes out to have a smoke and they see me, like, watching. And they're like, "Hey, you a fan?" I'm like, "Oh, God, for forever, yeah." And they're like, "Oh, shit. So you followed this musician's old project." And I, like, catch myself where I'm like, "Yep." And I do know that music, but what I meant was I've been a fan of this artist for, 25 years. But they haven't been performing as this artist for that long, obviously. Anyway. And we end up chatting, and it's really nice. And yeah, she asks for my name. And I hesitate. And I think the thing at the tip of my tongue is specialist. I know my rank. And then card comes, but mostly because sort of I replay the thing that I say at the beginning of all my logs and the end of all my logs in my brain. I have card. And I think I don't remember my first name in this moment. I'll remember it later. But not in this conversation. And the pause isn't as long as this sentence has been. It's, yes, "Oh, what's your name? Anyway, it's really nice to meet you." And I'm like, card, actually. And she kind of laughs. Like, and I'm like, "Oh, transported, this, I've really been in another place at the show." And she's like, "Oh, God, totally. I feel like it's You know, I barely remember the town I was born sometimes when I'm here. It's just so overwhelming. And I'm like, yeah, totally. And like small talk, and then she's like, I'll see you inside. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then I remember my first name, whatever it is. And I think my feeling in that moment is I don't belong here. I don't remember my name because it's not mine. It's theirs. It's the like kid version of me that's in that concert hall, feeling something bigger than they've ever felt before in their life, feeling something that they will think about for years, that will come to define them. That version of myself is so much more alive than I am. Their light is so much brighter. The universe knows that I don't belong here, and so it's trying to make that true by erasing me. And I walk very quickly away, very purposefully trying to take myself to a part of the city that I've never been in before, so that nothing is familiar, and hope that, like, the novelty, putting myself in a novel context will help. Yeah. Did I pull? I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna start marking when I've pulled. Ho 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 ho. And then do the log. This is specialist card on my 7th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I feel foolish for yearning for familiarity when I was stuck in the unknown, and I was thinking what I would give to be somewhere that I knew, somewhere that I recognized, in a context that I've known myself in. How naive. Maybe there was no way for me to know, but there's nothing worse. Again, somewhere I've been here before. More loops, more repetitions. The distinct feeling of being the wrong size for a room. Walking into your childhood bedroom and realizing how small everything is. Wondering if it was always so small. Realizing you were small. Some sort of Alice in Wonderland shrink me. Grow me. It's so much worse here. All I hope now is that I jump places I've never been. Places that are in some way unknowable, even. Like attracts like. Maybe it'll be better. Specialist card, signing off. Jump number 8. 6. I have a feeling my tower is gonna fall in this particular jump. Am I allowed to pull from the top, like what I've already what I've established? I feel like probably not, but I might anyway. It really won't make much of a difference. I really think that this tower is not long for this world. Wow, I must be time traveling because I wrote this is jump 8 and then wrote this is my 6th jump. Those are different numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. I guess that's where I got 6 from. 9 of identity. The engineers used to joke about it. Oh, this is going to be a pull, so I'm going to do it. Oh. Okay. Pull. Confirm. And I'm even going to bold the instructions so that I know. The engineers used to joke about it. What if every jump created a perfect copy of the jumper? This thought now fills you with dread. How many copies of you have you condemned to this living hell? Pull from the tower. Yeah, I mean, I think at this moment, like, part of the collapse here is that I'm like, how can I trust that I actually know how many times I've done this? With all the looping and the repetition, maybe things are splitting. Maybe I've changed things. You know, going back to a place where I've been before so many times, it feels like there have to be consequences. Like I went back to that seaside place before there was the sea and I hid in a cave and maybe that means that the fish will be different. The kelp will come in differently once it's full of water. And something, it'll change how the bridge has to be built because of how habitats are, and it will fundamentally alter something in my future. And just I'm overwhelmed by all of the splits that I don't know and the things that I will do in the future that I have already done because of how time is. And it's just overwhelming. It feels impossible. It feels infinite. I got the 8 of identity. This jump takes you outside a diner somewhere in the Midwest, and when you enter, all the patrons are watching baseball. After a couple of minutes, you recognize the game as one you watched with your grandparents when you were a child. How do you react? I don't know where the Midwest is. That's not important. So at first, I'm terrified that, because we watched it in a diner, I'm terrified that I'm interacting with my own timeline again. And then I'm terrified because this diner looks wrong. And I'm like, oh my god, do I not recognize the diner that I went to with my grandparents all the time? Like, what is happening to me? Or have I changed things so much that the diner is different? Like, you're not supposed to be able to, like, butterfly effect in that way. That isn't how it's supposed to work. But what if it did? Like, this is the longest jump anyone's done, right? Maybe we didn't really realize the consequences. And then I realize that this is in my future. And this is just people watching it's a compilation of, like, I happen to walk in or walk by. I'm outside the diner and I happen to walk by and see the moment that is a game that I watched with my grandparents as a child. But they're not watching the whole game. They're watching a compilation of, like, legendary baseball thing hits. And I'm like frozen in that thing of like being scared of all of not knowing where I am, when I am, what I've done. When the game changes, the crowd like cheers lightly, like everybody in the diner is like, oh yes, this one, I love this one, you know. There's like a ripple of it through the crowd, and I'm still just stuck in terror. And it's, my reaction really is like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, the things we're messing with are so beyond our control. It's like embarrassing, horrifying that we thought we knew enough to do it. Like children sticking our hands inside of an old TV set, getting electrocuted. Just this immense, almost like this existential, almost like eldritch horror moment of like, we are so small and this thing we are doing is so big. That's madness, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna note eldritch realization of how small we are and how big the forces we're messing with are. We flip a jack of home. You bang the chronometer against a rocky outcropping by mistake and your heart sinks. Seems to be working, but you've chipped the display. Pull from the tower. I like the idea that this is like a highway side diner. Again, I don't know where the Midwest is, so please don't at me if this is not a thing that's in the Midwest, but it's like a, you know, diner beside a highway with just desert and mountains around. And I'm just walking, not on the highway, but like walking away from the highway, away from the diner into the desert. Probably come back to the diner because I bet their fries are bomb. No, hash browns. Looking for hash browns. And that's where, yeah, I hit a rock. I go to look back, I think is actually what it is, to see how long I've been walking, because I don't trust my assessment of time anymore. I'm like, I think that I've only been walking for 10 minutes, but what if I'm wrong? Oh God, what if I'm out of sight of the diner and I can't get back before I get too hungry, or before, and I whirl around to look at it and the chronometer bangs against the thing that I'm beside. It's working, but you know, it's scary. And I'm going to pull from the tower. I want this one. Oh, ahaha. Great. Another jack. This is the jack of jumps. You're trying to decipher a meaning in the intervals between the jumps. At first it seems random, but now you've made a matrix of days, hours, minutes, and seconds, mapping them to letters, and you're starting to see a pattern. Oh, that rules! Oh, that's such a good prompt. Pull from the tower. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I want the very bottom one. Yeah, baby. Okay. So, this is a couple days later. I'm... A gruff, friendly diner waitress has been letting me sleep there. Took pity on me, coming in at like 3 a.m. Obviously lost in some form or another. And has been letting me stay there. I think she probably lives, like the idea that she lives there too and has a spare room. That's just fun. And I've started a straight up conspiracy board. And she's cool about it. She comes in the morning with coffee for both of us. She goes, detective, huh? Should have known. Hands me the coffee and walks out. And I'm like, I'm not a well, I detect things. Sip the coffee, look at my conspiracy board. And mapping them to letters. So what I'm going to do is look at a random noun generator and grab, I'm gonna look up random word generator for it to be longer. And I'm just gonna grab the first 7 letters of a random word. The first word that it generated was tower, just too short, but also like wonderful. I think probably just because I'm thinking about annihilation. These are all too short. I want random. So how long was this jump supposed to be? It's or it's supposed to take how many jumps? 36? Or is that 36 days in uncontrolled conditions? No, so I don't think it had a specific length. Okay, so I'll pick a couple of words. No, now I'm thinking about annihilation, and also in the interest of being longer, I am still gonna grab random words, but the thing that I'm recognizing is that it is a poem. It's part of a poem. Where's the poem from? I don't think... What are the obvious things? Poem from my childhood. Something from Sam. It's a song from that artist that I went to see as a teen. That concert. And so it's lyrics from a song where I'm like, and so I'm, and the thing I'm putting together is like, I have to find that version of me inside of me. I have to be that alive again somehow. Because I felt it, right? When I was in the city and I was near my younger self and I felt the way that my like void of self was being subsumed, sucked into the teenage me. And I'm like, maybe not now, maybe it's not possible immediately, but like that is the goal, that is who I have to be and how I have to be, is a version of myself that is so full of life that it is undeniable. And that's what I'm becoming convinced of. And the phrases, two of the words are theorist and residence, and I love the idea that it's a song. The chorus, it like the word, the letters that I have so far. Let's see, are Theoristi. So I have theorist I, and I'm like, oh, theorist in residence. This is the song. That's what the song is called. And it's in the chorus. You know, it's Theorist in Residence. And it is a song that was very important to me. And I know for sure exactly what it means. Whew. My next card is the King of Home. Reminder, I've already got one king, and if you pick up 4, you give up. You die in some way. The chronometer has started to give up on you. It powers down suddenly, and you never know when it comes back online again. Don't discard this card, place it to the side where you can see it. If this is the 4th king you've drawn, the chronometer is unusable, you have no way of getting back home, the game is over. So, obviously this is a couple days after I bumped it on the rock, right? I think it's not that, it's like the dry air. No, it's like spill coffee on it. I'm working on my conspiracy board in my little diner guest room. That's the thing about it that's so infuriating, is that it survived something so much more dangerous, like uncontrolled contact with the elements of the rock, and then just bad luck. A table leg collapsed and coffee spilled on it. Sucks. Nothing that could have been planned for. I got the Ace of Home. Oh, interesting. Okay, right. So this, if you want a short game, you like put the Ace of Hearts on the top because something happens. I don't know what yet. Let's read and find out. Through some miracle, you receive a garbled transmission from home. They are trying to locate you and find a way to bring you back. Pull from the tower. Do not discard this card. Instead, put it to one side and place 10 tokens on it. After each jump, after recording your log, roll the die. On a 6, remove a token from the card. If you successfully remove all the tokens from the card, they found a way to bring you home. Make a final pull from the tower. If it still stands, you jump back to the facility and are saved, but find the time machine damaged beyond repair. If you have all aces in play, you may choose to proceed with your mission instead. Whatever you choose, make a final log entry and end the game. Oh my god. So I just received the possibility that I survive this. An extremely unlikely possibility, but a possibility nonetheless. Let's put those tokens on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This looks like a sort of ooh fan edit of the Inquisitor with all the flowers around. That's very funny. Okay, so did that, and now I am going to pull from the tower. Yeah, this is the thing with taking the middles, is that it hamstrings you later, huh? So I'm gonna take the side of one of the higher ones. Oh, what a dangerous game to start playing right now. Okay, so pulled. Transmission from home. Bringing back the humming and tying in the song. I've started humming that song all the time. I'm in the diner. I'm in the diner. It's like me and a long haul trucker. We're the only ones in there. And she like gets up to go to the washroom and leaves her she had like a radio with her. She had her like something of her truck radio so that she could be like contacted if she had to get back on the road immediately. And she leaves it on the counter. And it's just me. There's none of the servers are here. They're all back in the kitchen. And through the radio, I can barely understand it. And I don't listen at first because they say my first name. And then I recognize Card. And I recognize that it's my team. Somehow contacting me through this trucker's radio. And I really don't get a lot of it, but I do know that they're trying to find they had my signal, then they lost it, then they had it, then they lost it. But that they're still working on it. And at least they found a way to get this message to me. And the trucker comes back out and is like, did they say anything? And I'm like, oh, there were noises, but I couldn't understand them, I'm sorry. And she's like, ugh. Nobody enunciates. Can't fucking stand it. Like, I'm on the road. I have to hear you over the sound of a trunk. Say your consonants. And I, like, laugh awkwardly. And yeah, that's what's happening. Let's do log. This is specialist Card on my 8th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I figured it out. And I know you know that. I know you know that because you figured it out too. And I'm so glad that we're on the same wavelength again, that obviously I found the song and that I know now what I have to be, and that was the actual point of this, and that is the way that we fix it, and I know that it worked because there you were affirming that immediately, and I heard you. And I'm so glad, and I'm so scared that I realized it too late. Like maybe I've lost too much of myself to create the me that can do this, but no, I don't think that's possible. If I weren't going in the right direction, I wouldn't know, right? I wouldn't have known this. I wouldn't have figured any of this out. What would be the point? I can't accept that. There's no way that there's no point. Otherwise, well, what's the point? And there has to be a point because the people are still, I mean, the hospitality I've been shown. Can you imagine just bringing someone into your home, your workplace, and letting them be lost in a way that is a little more found than it was before because you were recognized as lost? That's not something that happens in a universe that can be pointless. Right? Right. Thank you for your message. I hope you send another one. Try sending the song. I think that'll reach me. This is Specialist Card, signing off. And now we've got a new mechanic. After we do a log, roll a die, and on a 6, remove a token from the card. Ugh, I love how difficult it is to win. Like, not only does the tower have to hold up for, like, I have to roll a 6. If I rolled a 6 10 times in a row, then the tower would still have to survive for 10 more jumps. Like, that's crazy. I'm sure it's possible, but incredibly unlikely. And that's Beautiful. Hey, I did roll a 6 though. So let's take one of the counters off of the Inquisitor. One step closer to home, baby. I'm gonna do it. I'm full of belief. Rolled a 3. 1, 2, 3 cards. Before I do these cards, it's 11:30 p.m. I'm going to go and take a quick stretch break and do my Duolingo for the day because I don't want to break my streak. So I will be back in about 5 minutes. Alright. Card number 1 is the 5 of identity. You find a restaurant and are able to convince the owner to give you a meal. After you've eaten, you go to the toilet and catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror. You don't recognize the face looking back at you. Pull from the tower. Yeah. I think so. Obviously, this is scary, but I think it's also vindicating. Where I am right now, I'm like, yes, that's right. I am not myself because I have to become so myself that I am unrecognizable. So it's correct that I shouldn't recognize myself right now because I'm not, but I will be. The Jack of Identity. You wake up one morning and find yourself losing big chunks of hair. What is happening to you? Is it stress, some previously unknown side effect of the jumps, or have you grown old suddenly without noticing it? Pull from the tower. Ooh. Okay, this one's easy. Tower's getting tall enough that my camera's shifting focus. You can't see. Wish there'd been a way to do a proper side view of it because it is terrifying. I'm gonna take a picture. And yeah, I think again, this is like a... I'm realizing how long it's been since I dyed my hair. That's something that I'm thinking about when I start losing hair. I'm like, God, I used to experiment. It used to be a thrill to not know myself, right? To get the chance when I was young to try new things and try to define myself, but dyeing my hair and changing my style. How wonderful to get that chance again, to become myself, to become the most fully myself that I could be. And my hair's gonna grow in the right color this time. The 2 of the Mission. It's interesting, I haven't had a lot of clubs. Really not my focus at the moment. The 2 of Mission of clubs is, they gave you a gun when you left to use in your attack on the terrorists. How does the weight of it by your side give you comfort? The first time I carried a gun on myself, it felt terrifying. It felt awful. And then I got used to it. It was a standard part of the gear. They made me learn to shoot. They made me get used to it. They made me practice drawing it, cleaning it, fixing it. I got used to it. It never felt like me. It was always obviously part of the uniform. And not something that ever felt natural. But it didn't feel uncomfortable anymore. Just not a choice that I'd make. And so the comfort there is the recognition that the discomfort that I'm feeling now, all of the time, about everything about myself, could fade into something familiar and useful. And that if it doesn't, if all that it does is become its own new type of discomfort, that rigid, well, this is a necessity but not something I'd choose, then even through that I can define myself. I can define myself in opposition of it. And even that's useful. And that's comfort. I'm gonna do a log. This is a specialist card on my 9th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I don't speak the language here, which is interesting, because that's supposed to be automatic. Maybe it's because the chronometer is still acting up. Or maybe it's because I've come somewhere so out of the range of anything we could have imagined that it can't translate. Either way, the food is good. And the people are close enough to me. They have a personhood that is like the personhood I have, in a way that we can communicate through gesture. And they fed me. And it filled me. And it was good. And I found somewhere to sleep, and I slept. And it was good. All of the basic biological necessities do the things that they are supposed to do when I do them, when I can find the time and opportunity to do them, when my body remembers to remind me to do the things that it needs to keep going. They work, and I keep going. Maybe that's a small, unsurprising relief, but I think it's worth noting. This is Specialist card signing off. Oh, yes, let's roll a die to see if we take a token off. Hey, I did roll a 6 again! Hot damn! Can you see that? There it is. Okay. Let's take this blue one off the Inquisitor. Ooh, okay. 2. I roll for how many cards? 2 cards. First one. Oh my god, it's another king! Ah! The king of the mission. I just realized that my feet were pressed against my desk and I was jumping up and down a little, which I shouldn't do because my block tower's on there. That would be a terrible way to go. Okay. King of Clubs, King of Missions. This jump has brought you close to your childhood in time and not too far away. You think about how happy you were then. Maybe you could just stay here. Perhaps if you just smashed the chronometer, the jumps would stop. Do not discard this card. Place it to the side where you can see it. If this is the 4th king you've drawn, give up on your mission and destroy the chronometer, stranding yourself in time permanently. The game is over. Not quite. It is the 3rd. Oh my god, I'm staring at this face down card. I'm trying to feel psychically if it's a king. I love this as like a I've been so worried about being close to my past selves before, but now with this slightly hysterical revelation that I've had about what I'm up to and what my journey is, of course this is a relief and exciting. And I think actually part of it, this part that's slightly like unhinged and scary here, is that it's not just as simple like, oh, I was so happy here. I'm thinking about the way that it felt like my teenage self was draining my essence, essentially, or was taking up so much room that I was smaller. And I start to think, I have to become the most compact, concentrated version of myself. Maybe I could take that from me as a kid. Like, not kill them, but just, you know, the way that energy siphoned off. Maybe that's what I could do. I could stay here and find a way to do that. And then I would be double myself. And that seems well on my way to being the most me that I could be. And that's what I'm considering. Let's look at my other card. Oh, it's not a king. It is the 5 of Home. One of the projection engineers gave you some words of encouragement back during the tests when they had to recover you after a small deviation that took you 4 seconds off target. What did they say? Huh. I'm like, when it happened during one of these tests, I get brought back and I'm like babbling, like, I'm okay, no, I'm okay, like, don't worry, like, it's like I get no, and I'm like, clearly not okay, but I'm like, no, I mean, it was 4 seconds, like, it's not, you know, it's not but it can't possibly be, it was 4 seconds, like, why would that be a problem? It's okay. And they, like, you know, sit me down and put a gas mask on me. Not a gas mask, but like a, you know, a mask that's oxygen and some other important time travel chemical. And they say something gently about, like, they say, like, even a minute is long underwater or something like that. Like, they say something along the lines of, like, time, they're essentially saying time is relative, right? And like, when you're in pain, 4 seconds is a lot. Yeah, I know that a minute is too long, but I just like as a phrase, a minute is long underwater. I think that's what it is. That's the phrase that is sticking with me. There's probably a full phrase in there that's like, the time you spend underwater depends on how big a breath you got beforehand. Yeah, I like something like that. The time you spend underwater is different depending on how big breath you got beforehand, or something more eloquent than that. Discard that card. Do a log. Okay. This is a specialist card on my 10th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I'm in one of the places I grew up. It's statistically likely in a lot of ways relative to the other statistics. We moved a lot for the first few years. I could follow myself. They wouldn't even really see the pattern. Every year, I could go to the new town that we moved to, and I could disappear, and no one would say, children are disappearing, and here's how we know that they're linked together. It would just be a series of unrelated disappearances. They might even get lumped into other disappearances. Look like they're part of other patterns. Mistaken for a piece of a puzzle that they weren't a part of. And the real image of the real puzzle never actually put together. But I won't, and I didn't. Disappear, I mean. I just moved. Until I stopped moving. You have to wonder sometimes about momentum. What does it mean to move and 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 to move, then to stop? If your body is so used to that energy, that flow, I wonder if that's why I am. Some of the ways that I've been. Trying to remember to take deep breaths in case I end up underwater. Right? You know what I mean. This is Specialist Card signing off. Roll a die to see if I take off a token. Nope, rolled a 3. Now I'm gonna roll to see how many cards I get for jump number 11. 5. Oh goodness. Shout out again to Jess Levine, Gay Quine, for letting me play her album Archive a bunch of times. It's fantastic. Check out her games as well, obviously. Jumpgate Games, I have The High Ground, Going Rogue, and Planet Fist. The Faithless Edition will be coming out at some point, and it's got a whole bunch of new shit in it, and it is just fantastic. Our first card is the 4 of Home. We haven't heard about Sam in a little while. This prompt is, when you left for your special relativity training and assessment, Sam gave you a keepsake. What is it? Do you still have it with you? Oh, man. There were like rules about jewelry. They wanted to give me a bracelet or a ring or something, and I was like, you can't wear metal in the time machine. It'll cut your head off. Like, there are stories of people going in wearing a metal bracelet and it just severing their hand where it is. And so they wanted to give me a necklace, and I was like, you like my face, right? You want it to be attached to my body? And they're like, well, I like both of those things. I never said they had to be together. And they gave me like a silicone ring, kind of like the silicone wedding bands that like engineers and welders and like people who work with their hands use. And I have it with me, but I haven't thought about it in a very long time. And the way that I realize is that it gets caught on something. This jump put me at like the bottom of a mine shaft. And I have to like gruelingly crawl out of it, climb out of it. And this ring gets caught and it rips. And I see it fall. And I'm like, what was that? Oh my god, it's that ring Sam gave me. Have I been wearing that this whole time? And I think about like all of the times that I've looked at my hands and I can't see it. It phases in and out in the memories. It has to have been there because it's there now. But part of me just can't quite believe that it's actually been there this whole time. Next card is the Queen of Identity. I already made the King of Identity joke, so I'm not going to make it again. You jump straight into the army helicopter that crashed with you in it, already spinning out of control. Oh, you jump, right, like you jump in. You jump in straight into the army helicopter that crashed with you in it, already spinning out of control. You panic and try to hold on, but catch a glimpse of yourself on the other side of the passenger compartment staring at you. Then just before you hit the ground, you are wrenched away by a jump. Pull from the tower. Oof. So I think that this jump happens before I land in the mine shaft, because it's so fast. Let's pull from the tower. Those are so loosey-goosey, but in a way that is scary. Okay. Okay, everything's fine. I think a small thing, the me and the passenger is, I'm convinced, older. Visibly. Who knows if that's true, but that's what I think. And it's hard to say because, like, we were in a crashing helicopter and the lighting was all crazy and stuff was flying around everywhere, but I'm still pretty sure it's true. The Two of Identity. You find a pen and some paper somewhere in this jump and start doodling something you remember from your childhood to pass the time before the next jump. What is it? So, somewhat based off of something from my life. I remember sitting around and being like, trying to make up a signature. I guess probably for signing autographs, because I wanted to be famous very badly. I'm gonna be a famous rock star. When I was a kid. And I remember sitting and I think convincing my friends that the coolest signature that you could do would be to just spell your name with all the letters on top of each other. I don't know why. But I'm thinking about that, but like the thing I'm doodling is like a symbol that my friends and I made up. The way that kids have a tendency to like create weird religious symbology inside their friend groups in a way, if that makes any sense, like naming it or ascribing real meaning to it. And it's like a symbol that we created that was all of our first initials. I'm just doodling, they connected to each other. I'm just doodling that over and over again. And I think very vaguely having the feeling of like cheerfully, like, I wonder what these stood for. I think some of them were names. I wonder if one was mine. 10 of the mission. Do you think the people who sent you even know something went wrong? Pull from the tower. I mean, I do think that, because I think that they've been trying to contact me, but what this makes me wonder is if that's not true. I think that the twist of this is actually like, the thing I am starting to be convinced of is that nothing did go wrong. This was all supposed to happen. This is part of my journey. And so it's more like, do the people who sent me even know that actually everything's fine? We're time travelers. If something weren't supposed to happen, it wouldn't happen. 6 of spades is the 6 of jumps. There's a dog on this jump. It can't stop barking at you. It's like it knows you don't belong. Pull from the tower. Yeah. That probably happened to me in real life. I mean, dogs like me. Animals like me. But I'm weird. I'm weird around dogs. I don't understand them. I've never been a dog person. And so they like sometimes look at me like, I mean, they like me, but they really look at me like they're like, you don't understand anything. Do you? I think the image I'm getting is like, I was in this mine shaft, right? I dragged myself to the top, and I'm like woozy, and at first I think this is a wolf, and it's just the dog from the camp nearby of the miners, and they come, and because the dog is barking and barking, and they pull me to their camp and they help me. The dog won't stop barking, and they're a little superstitious, and so they do take care of me, but in a way that is probably about appeasing the spirit that they think I am. And I get out of their way relatively. No, I don't, because I'm not in a place where I try to make other people comfortable. I'm like, okay, well, you're not quite right about what I am, but this is probably how I should be treated. So, good. I will stay here until I can. Let's do a log. This is a specialist card on my 11th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I'm not even totally sure why I'm keeping these logs now, except out of habit. I guess you never hear about the logs getting unearthed when everything went right. Nobody ever listens to the logs from missions that were predictable. where everything happened exactly as it would be, but they do get made. And you learn things on those anyway. You can learn things in a lot of ways. And so I keep the logs. It's part of the job. And probably no one will ever hear them, because there won't be a reason to be. Because everything is going to happen and has happened exactly as it should have. Maybe we didn't know at the time, at the beginning, that this is how it would go. But I think we have to know better than to assume that just because we didn't know something from the beginning doesn't mean we didn't predict it. We're playing with time. We're traveling through time. If we know something at the end of a journey, then we knew it all along. And it was exactly as we predicted, because we already knew it. But it's part of the job, so you keep the logs. Even when everything's going right. This is a specialist card. Signing off. Card's doing really good. Everything's really fine with them. Thank goodness. Let's roll to see if one of these tokens get taken off this Ace of Hearts. Nope, another 3. Let's roll for some events. 4. Jack of Mission. Saw a face card. I was like, it's a king, it's gonna happen. I just feel like it's gonna happen. So, Jack. If you ever manage to hit your target and by some miracle survive, what do you think would happen? Do you think they'd be able to pull you back, or would you exist as a copy of yourself 36 days off your personal timeline? Pull from the tower. I feel like I'm probably not allowed to be pulling from the top, but that's what I'm doing anyway. Do I think they'd be able to pull me back, or would I exist as a copy of myself 36 days off of your personal timeline? I think my new running theory, based off in part, like based off of my cool fun idea of trying to drag the essence of myself out of my childhood self, is that in fact there is a copy in some way, not like a full copy that is made at every jump, but a little bit of one, a partial one. And so the thing that would happen on this longest jump, they would pull me back. And that is part of how I become that ultimate version of myself, right? Is that I have had so many jumps and so many versions of myself have been created that when they get pulled back into my one body after the successful mission, it'll change everything. It will be the most selves, the most self that a single person has ever been able to fit into their body. It is me. So I don't exist as the copies, but the copies get put inside of me, basically. It's part of my spirit. My next card is the 8 of Missions. Why do you think your CO approached you initially? What made you a good subject? Huh. I'm sure there are different answers to this, depending on when I'm thinking about it. Like, if you'd asked me this quite a few jumps ago, it would be my excited, exploratory spirit, right? I want to do new things. I want to do big things. I'm willing to take big risks. I think the juice is worth the squeeze. Risk it for the biscuit. And I'm in. I'm all in. I think what I think now is that I've realized I was a good subject. Oh, excuse me. Oh god. Sorry, I didn't have my mute button accessible. I didn't realize until just now. My bad. So now, I think that I was probably a good subject because I had already lost so much of myself without knowing, without really noticing, in ways that really are just normal growing up stuff, but that's not how I'm conceptualizing it. That I was a shell. I was more of a shell than your average person, and so I was more prepared to be put on this journey where I could be so filled with other versions of myself because I'd already let so many of them go, and because I'd experimented so much as a kid, moved all the time, dyed my hair a lot, all that kind of stuff that I've been saying. I had already been so many people. Yeah, I'd been so many people, and I'd let go of so many versions of myself in all of those phases. It primed me. Give up on taking notes a little bit. This is the 3 of Missions. Finally thinking about missions all in one go on jump 12. What if the malfunction wasn't a fluke? What if it was sabotage from someone in whose interest it would be that the terrorists succeed in spreading the bioagent? Maybe it's just what the military-industrial complex wanted. Pull from the tower. That's fascinating. So it's interesting to think that this is for some reason now I am so suddenly, like, I'm more aware of the thing that I was originally sent to do. So that makes me think that this jump was to, like, somewhere with historical relevance, either to, like, the place I work or to this terrorist organization that we're fighting. Not 100% sure what it is, but it's something that has suddenly reminded me, like, oh, there's more. Right. It's not just that I have to do the most dramatic version of self-actualizing. I have to do that so that I can do this. I can't lose sight of that. And that's one of the reasons I'm thinking about it. Oh. Ooh, there was a big wiggle there. There's a big wiggle there. 6 of home. Senator Bail Organa is here. Before you left, your CO gathered the whole team and gave a short speech, What part of that speech stayed with you? So this is where I jumped to. The CO gave a speech, and part of their speech was very evocative imagery of their childhood home, that there was some sort of like attempt at an occupying force. I'm thinking of the scenes in Andor where the town rebels against the Imperials. And yeah, they talk about the town being slowly ground down by this occupying force, and then snapping and fighting back and winning. And the place that I jumped is not in the town, it's outside of it. I'm on like a cliff overlooking it, and I'm seeing the Imperial forces essentially retreat. And there's like a sunset, colors everything in this pink glow, and I'm just thinking of this image. This is part of the CO being like, and I was a kid, and everything was, they left and the light changed. It was like it came on again for the first time. And we realized that in that moment, I was like, I will never allow myself to be boiled slowly, essentially. The fake thing about how frogs will stay in water if it's slow, but the CO is like, it's a speech that is about taking decisive action before things get bad enough. I think it's even a little bit about, like, we need to be prepared to not be the heroes in this story, because it's gonna look like we overreacted. It's gonna look like we did something drastic too soon before it was deserved. And it's because we know that it has to happen now or things are gonna get worse. And they describe the thing of like realizing all of the small steps that they ignored, that the people in the town ignored and let happen, that led up to this occupation. And like, yes, they won, but it was harder than it had to be. It never should have gotten to that point, and it wouldn't again. And that is the image that I see. The image that inspired them to think that. Let's roll a die to see if I take a token off. Another 3. No such thing as a coincidence. 2 6s, then all 3s, baby. Okay. Gotta do a log. This is Specialist card on my 12th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I think I've gotten a little off track. Everything is still unfolding exactly as it should. I know that. But it's important. The things that you think matter. Your intentions. And the things that you put your focus toward, they have effects. And so I have to remember, the thing that I am going to become is not a goal in and of itself. I have to become that thing to do what I came here to do. And I will. That will be the version of me that can do it. And that's important. It's just important to remember. What the actual end goal is. The thing that I am trying to enable. The thing that I will enable. And to not be complacent. It isn't over till it's over. This is a specialist card signing off. Lucky 13. How many cards? 3. Conspiracy 3. This deck's getting pretty thin. There's a 4th king in here somewhere waiting for me. Alright. Okay. First card. 6 of mission. Right? Clubs? Yes. If you could go back in time to just before you made the first jump, what would you have done differently? Fascinating. I think I would have tried to throw it off course harder. Because I fully believe that things are going to work out perfectly. No matter what. It's not even really up to me at this point, you know? And so I'm like, the elastic band has to snap at some point. It's important that it snaps, actually. And I could have stretched it further. I could have done something to make it seem more wrong. Giving it a little extra juice. It's funny to say, if you could go back in time to just before you, like, I kind of can. Though, I guess it's not super controlled, huh? Is it? But yeah, it's like, I would have stretched the elastic band further so that it snaps harder. It's gonna snap, that's what's important, but 9 of mission. I am back on track, baby. Don't even worry about me. I like know what I'm here for and I'm ready for it. You feel weak, disoriented, and afraid. What makes you think you could complete your mission even if the next jump were to take you to your target? Pull from the tower. Oh my god. Okay. I mean, yeah, I am weak. I'm disoriented. I'm afraid. It's terrible. I've landed somewhere again where there aren't people. And I am scavenging food and I hate it. I'm so sick of it. I want a hot dog cart. I want a 24-hour convenience store falafel wrap. There's so many things that I know would feel better to put inside my body and I don't have them and it's terrible. But I know that I could do it because I have to do it, and it's the thing that's going to happen because of all of the things that I've realized about how it is true. It's just true. If I were put in the situation, I would do it. Because I just would. I know that I would. Pulled the Ace of Diamonds, the Ace of Identity. Through the jumps, you have come to realize that maybe you were always destined to be lost. Even if the machine would have worked perfectly, you would probably not have survived your mission. But what of it? What is one life compared to the millions that you could save? If you could, would you sacrifice yourself willingly? Don't discard this card, put it to the side. If you've drawn all 4 aces, you can make a final jump to complete your mission, but you won't make it out alive. Okay, well, I'll put this with my other ace. Got 2 of them. That's so true, bestie. Through the jumps, you've come to realize that maybe we're always destined to be lost. STB. I sure have. Yeah, cool. What is one life compared to the millions you could save? If you could, would you sacrifice yourself willingly? I love playing self-sacrificial characters. It is one of my most common tabletop things. If I'm just like thrown into a game with, like, make a character right now, one of the most likely types of characters I'm going to create is stubborn idealist who has to be stopped from throwing themselves into the gears of the machine just to slow it down. So, I'm going to play against type when I say absolutely not. Because the thing that I have to do is become alive, right? That was the first way that I put it. I have to become so me. I have to become the most me version of me, so alive. Think of the way that I was that night at that concert, how vivacious I was, and the amount of just potential coursing through me. Death is the end of potential. Absolutely, it's not worth it. I'm not saying that I would let millions die. I'm just saying sacrificing myself isn't the way to save them. And if you say it is, no, it isn't. You're wrong. Maybe after I do what I came here to do. Maybe then, because I'll have done it. But I won't have to. Because I'll have fixed it. Let's do a log. This is specialist card on my 13th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. We're really racking up those numbers. I mean, we always knew that we would. You know that this is long. This is always supposed to be a long one, but I don't know. Counting them just really drives the point home. But I'm not wishing for it to be shorter. I barely even remember being a person who would want that. I have some evidence. I have scraps of old fear. But that was before I understood the real truth of the situation. And now, really all I want is more. To go longer. To explore more. To pull harder. See more. Leave more of myself behind. To collect later. To gather. To consume. And so it's exciting. The number's getting bigger. This is specialist card. Signing off. Oh, gotta roll to see if I take a token off of the Inquisitor. 1. Nope, getting further away. Okay. How many cards in this event? 6. There's a 6. 4, 5, 6. Okay. The 2 of home. Someone you meet on this jump reminds you of Sam. What is it about them, and how does that make you feel? So I think the thing here is that, like, they're not actually that much like Sam at all. But they make me feel something that I associate with Sam. They make me feel seen. I meet somebody who I'm like sitting on a log, staring into the middle distance, and someone comes and sits beside me. We sit in silence for a while, and they sigh, and they go, "Just can't predict how a year passes anymore, huh?" And I look at them hard. And they smile. They're not looking at me, they're looking ahead. They know I'm looking. And they smile. And I say, "Yeah." It's all supposed to follow the calendar, or so they say, but nothing's guaranteed, I guess. And they smile and they laugh. And I think that's it. That's the entire conversation. But it was so... I mean, to them it's a platitude in some way. But to me, they genuinely saw the truth of my situation, that I am experiencing time out of order. And I felt so seen that I think about Sam. Because that's something they did. They made me feel very seen. And I think I even convinced myself that they look the same. Maybe they look so similar that this could be Sam in a different world. And they don't. That's the truth of it. They don't at all. But I think they do. I really think they do. The 10 of home. You witness someone die on this jump, and you can't help but think of the victims of the bio attack, the millions of lives lost. Sam, will you ever be able to prevent it? Pull from the tower. Committing to pulling from the top ones. I'm gonna run out in the next one, and then I'm stuck pulling from the bottom. Who do I see die? I want to get super descriptive and visceral, so I'll just say, like, it's random. I'm sitting on, this is how that interaction with that person ends. We're sitting in this log staring into the distance, and there's just a deafening noise, a car crash. And they run over. I react much more slowly, run over behind them, and I see one of the people who was involved die while we're waiting for help. And it's terrible. The Ace of Jumps. My goodness, this now means that I'm one card away from an ace ending and a king ending. Also, you probably... My notes are mostly illegible, but I did write Ace of Humps and couldn't figure out how to fix it. So the ace is, through some combination of determination and sheer luck, you have managed to fix the transmitter on your chronometer. You are now able to send short messages, and even though you aren't sure they're receiving them back home, you have to believe it. Holy shit. Okay. Okay. Can send messages back home. I got the Queen of Missions. My god. If you ever manage to hit your target, do you really think you could survive a firefight with a whole cell of fanatic terrorists? Are you willing to die trying? Pull from the tower. Alright, that's my last easy pull. I mean, I'm willing to die trying, but I won't, as is established. I'm willing to die trying. The universe isn't willing to kill me. I don't make those decisions. So of course I can survive. Nine of home. You once had a huge fight with Sam that ended up with you separating for a while. What was it about, and how did you two get over it, or did you? Like, the first thing I think of is the very first question that I had, which was like, what would you say to them, right? Of the thing of like, you are enough. And I think it is related to that. It's not exactly that. It's that, like... So I've always been more adventurous and exploratory. And now Sam maybe is sometimes insecure that it's because they're not enough. But, like, there was a time in our relationship where, like, they genuinely were trying to control me. Not in, like, a super over-the-top abusive way or anything, but, like, they really did want me to act differently and were trying to change me in some way. And I didn't handle it well. Like, it's not like I was like, hey, I'm feeling pressures from you that are really stressful for me and I feel like you're not accepting me for who I am. I, like, lashed out, and every single time they would try to lay down a rule, I would break it as hard as I could. Even to the point of, like, doing things that I didn't want to do just to do something that they asked me not to do. And yeah, it blew our relationship up. And then we ran into each other at a party, like a couple of years later. We got talking, and we'd both had a couple of other breakups since then, shorter relationships obviously, and end up talking about how during those breakups we were like, oh shit, this is the thing I did with Sam, with the other person, with Card. I fucked up. And so we didn't fully get over it, right? Because there is a different manifestation of it that we still occasionally deal with. But, like, we kind of did. We got back together and things were better, a lot better. They weren't ever like that again. We needed to end it. It was terrible for both of us. And then it was good. No way! Okay. I just pulled the 4th ace. This is the ace of missions. No way. I've been sitting at 3 kings for like how long? I've been sitting at 3 kings for like 4 jumps. And then the ace is just caught up. That is crazy. Okay. Oh man, okay. So, ace of mission. Even with your memories beginning to fray, you manage to recall the time-space coordinated to your target. You recite them at night to give yourself a sense of purpose. The next time you are told to pull from the tower, you may choose not to. If you've drawn all 4 aces, you can choose to make a final jump to complete your mission, but if you do, you will be killed. If you choose to do it, topple the tower. This ends the game. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not ready. Like, as it, like, card isn't ready. Card is like, something happens that is like, they have the opportunity. They have an opportunity that is similar to their actual mission, like to stop this organization earlier or something. And they're like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not the thing I have to be yet. I can't do it. Absolutely not. Because I still feel the same, and I can't feel the same because I'm supposed to feel different. That's the whole point. I can't possibly be ready yet, so I have to keep going. And so they do. And the next time I'm told to pull from the tower, I can choose not to. Maybe just sealed my fate a little. But also, would have just died here anyway. So what are you going to do? Oops. Okay. This is a specialist card on my 14th uncontrolled temporal projection jump. I'm trying to keep all of these within the parameters, and I'm a professional, you know, I went through a lot of training. And there's a shape of these things, and I think we can all agree that I have kept to them. I've kept to the shape. But I just need to address if there's any chance that Sam could hear this. I know it's unlikely. A civilian, but once you start playing with time, Sam, you start to wonder about coincidences. The way that we ran into each other at that party. After we hadn't seen each other in so long. In a city neither of us lived in. Both fresh off of breakups. Thinking about each other. It's always felt like a miracle. In some small way. I think you thought that even more than I did. I haven't usually thought that a lot is miraculous. I've thought things just happen. Right? I think that's what I've thought. But now, there are forces bigger than us. And I think that we can be those forces in our own lives. That maybe we are those forces in our own lives. Without meaning to be. Just an influence that we're putting on the world. Putting into it. And that could be the thing that pulled us back together. I don't know if that's nice or miserable. I think it's beautiful that we chose each other, that that's a way that we conceptualize what we are. Maybe there aren't choices. But maybe we can find meaning within it anyway. I think I'm on track. This is specialist card signing off. Let's roll to see if I take one of these tokens off of the Inquisitor. Got another one. Roll for cards. 5. This deck is so small. I'm trying to arrange my cards so that they can be seen on the stream, but the tower has gotten very tall. 5 of spades, which is jumps. Gotta be careful putting that down as hard as I just did. This jump takes you to World War I in the middle of the trenches right before a big push. What do you do to survive when you are caught between enemy machine guns and your commanding officer forcing you forward at gunpoint? Pull from the tower. Well, I can ignore that pull from the tower because of my 4th ace. And I think I'm gonna keep feeding into my own myth here, which is that, like, I don't do anything in particular to survive. I fight. I do what I'm supposed to do, and luckily everyone else is so scared and young that I kind of fit in. But I survive. Not a lot of people do, but I do. And it's with grim determination. The universe won't let me die. Seven emissions. Right, and I can send messages back now. I feel like the logs are separate. The messages that I'm sending back, who knows if they're being received, are like utterly unhinged. Like, I'm barely conscious that I'm sending them, you know? It's like just thoughts. when I have a thought. Oh, and a lot of the time they're just humming that song over and over and over again. Sending like 100 a day. Yeah, 7 of mission. Perhaps they got the projection unit working again and sent someone else to complete your mission? Does the thought comfort you, or does it highlight the fact that you struggle? That your struggle may have been in vain? Pull from the tower. Oh my god. I mean, that's a nightmare because, like, I'm very caught up in certain mythologies about why I have to be the one to do it. That's horrifying. Got the Queen of Jumps. You started to notice that on every jump you've been on, there's some clue. A symbol, a piece of writing, a person, a picture. Something that feels like it's speaking to you directly. It's almost as if someone or something is trying to tell you something through the jumps. Or could it be that you're losing it? Pull from the tower. Okay. There's no way that anything goes well from here, right? Okay. And I think, just briefly, I now think that, so the thought about them sending someone to complete the mission, I'm now thinking that mystery man who I saw notice me, the like one that's spoken of in hushed tones, who I saw see me when I crossed my own timeline at the concert, I'm now like, well, he's the only other one who's had a journey like mine, right? And so maybe he's the one who will become so himself to do this. He's the hero. He's having the journey that I'm supposed to be having. And he's writing to me, I think. But I can't understand it yet. But that's who I think is going after me. 7. Oh no, 7 of jumps. This jump feels different. Suddenly, for a second, you see yourself strapped to the projection unit, engineers running around you in a panic while klaxons sound. Then the world flickers again and you land somewhere else. Pull from the tower. Doing the easy top one. Oh boy. So I think tying into the thing where like I had the thought of I would make it worse. I am now haunted by the idea that I did. I just jumped back to the moment. I did the thing that I thought about, like, what would I do? And I'm now haunted by the idea that, like, I actually did make it worse, that I caused the thing that this is happening. And right now, like, for the first time, I'm doubting it, right? Because I start to think it's not me. It's that other guy. It's that guy. So I made it worse for nothing. I could have been at home. 3 of spades. 3 of jumps. This jump takes you further back in time than any of the others. Where do you end up? I mean, it's just for a second. A horrible second. I can't breathe. Because I go back, like, to the Big Bang, right? It's the Doctor Who moment of, like, I am floating in space. There is no Earth to be on yet. Maybe not like the Big Bang, but like in the formation. And it's terrible. And it is so lonely. And I'm gonna pull from the tower. How am I gonna do that? Am I allowed to like shift while I move the other one? I don't know the rules. Nope. Ugh. There it is. So. Let me just remind myself what on earth happens. Okay, yes. If the tower falls at any point in the game, you have given up and become so lost that there is no longer any way back for you. This ends the game. Proceed to the debriefing. Yeah, so... I mean, that makes sense, right? I went almost before time. I went before the Earth. Debrief. Okay. You've made it to the end of the game. Take a deep breath. Find your center. You are here. What happened? Did you make it back home, clinging to that tenuous thread between two signals, worlds apart? Did you lose yourself somewhere along the way, or did you succumb to some other danger? Or in the end, did you have salvation in your grasp, but chose to give your life so that others may live? If the game ended with the tower falling, you lost yourself somewhere along the way, your memories dissolving like snowflakes in the sea. Perhaps somewhere an empty husk still jumps endlessly through time, but it won't be you anymore. And then there are other endings. And that's it. Oh, no. Oh, right, okay. So, my ending wasn't just the tower falling. It was if the game ended with all aces being drawn and you toppling the tower, you made your final jump. Or maybe that's supposed to be if you end on an ace. Yes, I think it is. Yeah, so just... No, I think that's fair. I think it's fair for me to take the ace and toppled tower ending, because that is literally what happened. So, if the game ended with all aces being drawn and you toppling the tower, you made your final jump and hit your target destination. Your attack on the terrorist cell was a desperate affair, but it was enough to alert security to the site. When the smoke from the ensuing gunfight cleared, they found your lifeless body with a strange device on it. They pressed a button on it, and a voice came through. This is Specialist on my third uncontrolled temporal projection jump. And I like the idea that it's somewhere between those. Because, like, it has become increasingly unclear as I've been pushing the limits of what is possible. If maybe we are creating multiple versions of ourselves in all of these different timelines. And so I think there might still be that husk jumping through time, humming to themselves, humming into a dead microphone. A recorder that's going nowhere. And there's a version that did the unthinkable and died when they were so convinced that they weren't allowed to, that it was an impossibility of the universe for them to die. They did. Because they were wrong. They were wrong about something. Maybe a lot of things, but at the very least they were wrong about that. I'm just gonna real quick go through the very, very few amount of cards left, the literally 5 cards I have left, and see when I would have hit my 4th king. The next card was a 4 of clubs, then a queen of hearts, and the 4 of diamonds, then the king of spades, and then the 10 of spades. The 4th king was the second to last card in the deck. Wild. Incredible. I really thought that was the way I was gonna go. Nope. Wow. Cool. This has been the first folio stream. Oh, hi, Ree. I just saw you. Incredible timing. I'm not sure when you sent that message. I apologize. I wasn't watching chat because no one was here, which makes sense because this has been, this was very last minute and late at night. It is 1 a.m. I'm tired. But this was the game. This was the first folio live stream, and thank you for watching whenever you are watching. I deeply appreciate it. And I will see you in the future. Thank you again to Jess Levine for allowing me to play Archive. Jess Levine, aka Quine, aka Jumpgate Games. Fantastic musician, game designer, and creator generally. You probably know her already. Check her out. Thanks for the tunes. Thank you to Laurie Asmith for this game, Unmoored. What an incredible game. I read a lot of the prompts in the end, and they are fantastic. Thank you to Winners for my $10 block tower. And that's it. This has been Folio. This has been Folio. This has been Folio. A live stream about solo and epistolary games. Playing Unmoored by Laurie Asmith. Linked in the description or the post or whatever it is that this comes attached to. Thank you so much for watching. And take care out there.